All right, I'm excited about this. Welcome, Jillian, to the Leaders Who Care series.
Hey, Mark, I'm so happy to be here. This is going to be so fun.
It is, and people are going to see, not that you have to prove it already, but they're really going to see why you do deserve to be on a Leaders Who Care series. So, best place to start, as always, is if you can briefly introduce yourself, not the stuff you do or done yet, but a little bit. I have to tell this to men more than ever because the first thing they usually say is, "Well, my position at this company is," but that's not the question. Can you share a little bit about who Jill is, where you're from originally, where you are now, what you feel comfortable sharing about family? Maybe
Yeah.
something you've never told anybody before, and now you want to reveal it to the world. Stuff
Ah,
like that.
I love it. I love it. So, my name is Jill Diorio Hunter. I was actually born in Pittsburgh and grew up in a family where you put people first. So I guess I inherited my love of people from my dad, who is one of my absolute best friends and mentor. A lot of people know him from his many years at Kaufman's or Robinson's May or Foley's. He started as a stock boy and worked his way up to be a chairman of the board
Wow.
at Foley's, which is now known as Macy's here. So fashion was always in my blood, and hard work was just something that you did no matter what opportunities or privilege you had. So I was definitely raised in a household with lots of love, faith, hard work. I was never given money to go to the movies or an allowance. It was, if you want to go to the movies, then you've got three bathrooms, you've got the kitchen floor, and you've got stalls that you can go muck. And if I asked for $10, he'd ask me to the penny how I managed those $10. And I really only needed eight, so I would get eight. So for that, I'm super thankful for my dad because he taught me how to do cash flow and a good old-fashioned P&L. I think at the age of 7, I would meet with him on a monthly basis and we would do our cash flow sheet. But
You're gonna be able to talk more about him on our influencers part of this.
yes,
Do you have
yes.
siblings?
I don't. I was an only child, and later on in life, I've got a awesome stepbrother and stepsister. So I guess they're full-fledged siblings now, but not blood related. But we're all considered family, so I'm very thankful for them.
We call them, so my daughter-in-law is from Denmark. We call her a bonus daughter because they don't use step or any of those terms. They use
Yeah,
bonus.
yeah. We don't really either. But at that point in my life, in the early years, I was an only child for sure. Got to travel with my dad, go to all the fun things, the Fashion Week, and really, he instilled in me that being passionate about people and putting them first was the most important thing and gift that you could really give another individual in addition to your faith. I'm incredibly rooted in my faith and owe everything that I have to God, and that was definitely the biggest legacy that he landed on my heart. Had lots of opportunities to work in retail and the fashion industry, did a
Well,
lot in the
we'll
fashion.
get to that in a minute. We'll get to that in
Okay,
a minute.
okay,
By the way, I'm
okay.
a very good interrupter, you'll
That's
find.
good. That's
So,
good. You tell me
so
where you want the story to go, and I will for sure
well,
share.
you're going to make the story go. But so, as a kid and as a teenager, I'm getting a sense. But was it dolls or tomboy? Was it lemonade
Mm.
stand? Was
Oh,
it?
I love it.
Um,
It was,
and by the
it
way,
was,
were you Sergeant Sunshine back then already, without
I think I
anybody knowing?
was. I think I was with my friends. I loved everything outdoors. I could spend the entire day outside. I was definitely a tomboy. A great pair of denim and a white t-shirt was the only way I liked to roll. When I had to put a hoodie on, I would. Had horses growing up, so that was a really big part of my childhood. I would just get on a horse and go on trail rides and hunts. We never like actually hunted anything, but we'd run with the foxes, which was really fun. And I love to plan. I love to organize. I love sports. Again, because I was an only child and I was a girl. And FYI, I come from an Italian family. So there's lots of love, there's lots of food, and there's lots of football. Early days, it was the Steelers.
Wow.
Um, didn't miss it,
I
didn't miss a
personally
game.
knew not to use names. I personally knew Franco Harris was a really good friend of mine.
Oh, I love that. My dad actually knew him too, and Terry Bradshaw. We
Hmm.
would go to Steelers games, and literally, my dad would bring trash bags. And in the snow, we would put the trash bags over the seats in Three Rivers Stadium, and we would watch the game in the snow. And I didn't know any different, honestly, for many, many adult years. Yeah, many adult years.
That's
But
so
yeah,
cool.
all sports, love football, love baseball, basketball, hockey. I rode horses competitively.
Hmm.
I had a goal that I really wanted to go to the Olympics at one point, but
Was this equestrian, dressage?
yes,
Equestrian.
equestrian.
Hmm.
Yeah, but the horse I wanted to take ended up going lame, and that was a really hard time in my life, but it was okay. There's always a good reason why one door closes. I played lacrosse, I played some field hockey, I played softball, and I played a little indoor soccer. And I just love anything that's competitive and gives me an opportunity to be with people. I always
My
have.
my type of girl. Damn, you don't have a twin sister, do you?
I
Don't,
don't.
I
I
know.
don't. I don't. I don't. But
Um,
if you're ever up for a companion to sit and watch Sunday football, from the minute I get home from church, my son Jake and I, still to this day, we're like on the couch in full form, like watching the games, and he's keeping up with his fantasy football league. So
all right,
still a part of who I am today.
yeah, I'm in on that, but you'd have to watch hockey also because that's one
Yeah,
of the most.
I don't know a ton about hockey though. The Penguins at one point were, major contenders in our house.
Yeah, well, they still are competitive, and Mario Lemieux is a
Oh, yes.
superstar role model, even in life. That guy, incredible.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
super interesting. So you went to school, University of Arizona,
Mhm.
also, and I guess it was fashion and merchandise, University of
That's right.
Arizona. Was it San Diego State University, closer
Yep.
to me here?
Yes.
What were
Yes.
you envisioning then for like one foot ahead of you and even longer term?
Yeah. I mean, at that point, in school, I actually was working in cosmetics. Really fun story there because I got thrown into a role where one of the beauty advisors at Lancome at the time, at one of the stores in Santa Monica, had gone out on maternity leave. And my dad said, "Look, we need some summer help and coverage here. And this is what you're going to do this summer." And I was like, hold on a second. Like, you are not talking about me, the girl that doesn't wear makeup, the girl that doesn't have any bit of bougie in her. Now, granted, I was always well dressed when I needed to be because I grew up in that environment, but all natural. I mean, at that point, I had never even had like mascara on or anything. So the decision was definitely made that I would help out. And a really fun part of the story is I was actually working for Lancome, which is an amazing brand. Leadership there is incredible. And I was got promoted to a counter manager position, all good.
Was
Love to
this
lead
during school?
people and team. Yes, that was during the summer. It was like a summer
Okay.
situation.
Hmm.
And worked in cosmetics through school. Ended up actually starting my own makeup business on the side and started doing weddings because you can make a lot of money doing weddings if you're a good makeup artist and you
Smart.
have a good organizational strategy, which I did. I loved because, by the way, there is no happier place to be than with the bride and her family pre-wedding on wedding
Mhm.
day. It was so much fun, so much joy and love, always like magically
Makes
flying through
sense.
the air. So I did that for a really long time and I loved it. And obviously was riding and working out and doing all my stuff, and then continued to work for Lancome part-time in San Diego. And then when I graduated, I got an opportunity to go work for Lancome at the next level, which was awesome. And it was at that point where I was working for Lancome, and in came a store visit and an entourage of people. And I could kind of tell it was a store visit because people were very well dressed. They were walking around, there were no cell phones at the time, and people were making notes in their tablets. And somebody came over to the counter, and I said, "Let me show you this." And I like grabbed his hand and whatever. And he said, "And who are you?" And I said, "Oh, it's so great to meet you. I'm Jillian Dilorio. Let me tell you a little bit about blah blah blah." And that turned out to be Leonard Lauder of the
No.
Estee Lauder companies.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's just some guy.
Yeah, yeah. And I was trying to sell him Lancome. So for anybody in the cosmetic industry, they'll really appreciate that story. And from there, in a very short period of time, I was recruited to go work for Estee Lauder. And by far, absolutely the best journey, full work experience as a young person that you could ever imagine to have. The leadership team at Estee Lauder was led by Leonard Lauder and the entire family. And though they had always the highest expectations and level of excellence that they expected from every person on the team, they also invested back in every person in the team.
One thing I get out of there is kids don't seem to have summer jobs anymore, like we had.
No,
And if you go into the right one, it could be the best internship and opportunity you've ever seen.
absolutely.
But the other
Absolutely.
thing is your mantra of helping people. Um, it always comes back. It always comes back. So you said hello to him, and it happened to be him.
Yes. Yes.
Things
Yes.
don't happen. Things happen, I should say, for a
Yes.
reason. But,
Absolutely.
but you also make it happen because you care.
That's right. That's right. And you have to take a chance. And you have to literally put yourself out there. And even, my motto to young people that I talk to is just say yes. When you can go, when you can show up, go because you never know who you'll meet. And it's maybe not just who you'll meet, but the person that you meet may know somebody else that's going to be significant in your path and your career. So go anytime that you basically, can. And I am a firm believer that nothing happens for a reason, that God already knows today and tomorrow what's going to be happening in our lives. So you also have to really lean into that and ask Him for guidance, and you got to go. You've
Yeah,
got
it's
to.
it's a great point. Religious or not, for people, it's a great point because something is happening, whether you call it a long time ago, someone sent me this not a video, it was a graphic, and in the middle was the term God and Jesus and Buddha and energy and universe and whatnot.
Yes.
And on
Yes.
one side was people arguing about what to call the thing in the middle. On the other
Hmm.
side, people were all changing their names to Mahatma Rainbow. And the whole point of the thing was
Yeah.
it doesn't
Yeah.
matter necessarily what you call it. It's a
That's
matter of what you do with that power, the energy, whatever you call it,
I am
make it
complete
happen.
agreement with you. Yes. No matter what it is for you, whatever that higher source is, whatever is moving you, whatever spirit is guiding you, definitely lean into that and listen to it. A lot of people call it just instinct, gut instinct. And if that's it, listen and move. Just keep going forward because that's where you're going to find, I think, success. And that's where ultimately you're going to find real happiness.
Yeah, no, no, I agree. Was there a unique experience you remember at Estee Lauder that really impacted you and you felt the opportunity to have maybe an economic and social impact from what they're doing?
Oh my goodness, absolutely. So the first thing I want to say is that Leonard Lauder was by far the ultimate leader and mentor. He's just recently passed away, but I'm so grateful for him and the opportunities and chance that he gave me and a lot of my friends and colleagues. He believed in people
Hmm.
and he always remembered. And he always remembered details about people. And he would say, God is in the details. Absolutely true.
I
And he
love
had,
that
isn't
versus
it?
the other way.
Yes. No, he's like, God is in the details. And he would say it all the time. And the motto for the company, it was on all of our stationery, was bring the best to everyone you touch. And that left a significant impact on my heart. It obviously paralleled with the voice of my dad. My dad and Leonard actually were friends and did business together for a number of years. And to have that type of leadership and mentorship permeate down through an organization, I can tell you there were numerous occasions that Mr. Lauder would come and visit, like South Coast Plaza, for instance. It was the largest store, South Coast Plaza Nordstrom. There was such an amazing team there. There still is. But whether it was a part-timer or the gal that was helping out for Christmas, he would remember their names. He would genuinely ask them, how are you doing today? Tell me an experience that happened with a customer that you're most proud about. He would engage in conversations. I mean, unlike any leader that I have ever had the privilege of working for. And you know what that did? It made everybody feel seen. heard, and valued. And he wouldn't get to spend a lot of time, but he genuinely would take the time to make sure that he knew people's names, who they were, what they'd accomplished, always give them feedback. Always
No,
give them feedback and thanks and appreciation. And I will say, in all the years that I got to be a part of the organization, and again, I have so many friends that still work there, and so many of us that, maybe are on to something else. Everyone would say the same, that there was always a birthday note, there was always a thank you note, there was always a year anniversary, thank you for everything you've done. I mean, he really mastered making people feel important, seen, heard, and needed and recognized. And that's the key right there. That's the
it
key to
is.
building an
I mean,
exceptional team and building leaders within an organization.
yeah, it's the definition of a leader who cares. I know certain leaders that I work with that actually research how long has Georgine been there. So when they see them next, they say, "Thanks for
Yes.
the 7 years that you've had here. You're doing great." And whatnot.
Yes.
It's sometimes better than a pay raise because the people feel like they belong. They feel like you really do
It
care.
is. It
And in
really is.
today's world, people are craving to be cared about. People are craving to belong to something. They're
Yes.
craving a hug,
That's
all
right.
that type of stuff.
That's
So
right. That's right.
it's great to hear that because sometimes people would think the CEO doesn't care because they have little
No.
time, but you don't
No.
need a lot of time. You
That's
just
right.
need the right way of doing it. How did that?
Speaking of the hug, I want to say something really fun because back in the day, as my dad was leading obviously multiple organizations, he would get all the diamond, like the highest sellers together, and he'd do this kickoff breakfast and thank them and appreciate them. And he started something that you could never do now, but back then he called it the Mamma Mia hug.
Oh,
Okay. And
nice.
you had,
Oh,
yeah,
no.
you had to be like 60 years and older. You had to be able to sell at a certain level, and then he'd host a special breakfast and he would acknowledge all the top performers and thank them for whatever they had done, whether it was the furniture department or cosmetics or shoes, and then they'd get a hug. And we come from an Italian family. So like if you appreciate somebody and love them, you hug them. And truly, when you hug somebody, it changes their entire demeanor.
Yeah.
It changes their entire attitude, as we know, and releases endorphins. So just want to say there's definitely something to the power of hugging people.
Did he play the Mamma Mia song while that was on?
No, he didn't, but he probably had a Frank Sinatra song going on in the background because that was obviously the favorite of Pappy for sure.
If you can make it here, you can
That's
make it
right.
anywhere.
That's it. That's it. That's it. That's
No,
it.
I love that. I have a client that once a month would have everybody, their headquarters is in Miami, it's a real estate company, major one, and they have them come down once a month to sing together in the lobby.
Oh, I
And
love that.
the accounting people and the engineering people had a tough time getting used to that initially, but then they felt it. Then they felt it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because singing
That's really
together
awesome.
works too. And
That's
so
awesome. Yeah.
it's all back to people, no matter how conservative or whatever they are,
Yeah.
they still want to belong. They still
They
want that.
do. They do.
And it's
They
good
do.
for
And there's
business.
and there's something about the human touch. You talk about leaders that care. I had a great conversation actually yesterday with somebody I'm mentoring, and the best advice I can give is you show up. You get in front of people. Zoom is amazing, but I wish I was there with you and we were hanging out, getting to have a conversation right there in your living room because there is something about showing up nowadays. It's easy to send an email, it's easy to send a text, but there's something really different when you tell someone that you're going to meet them in the conference room, you're going to show up at their office, you're going to meet them at the lunch.
Yeah.
There's something magical that happens with the human touch and being in front of people.
Yeah, it's real.
Mhm.
It blasts out that you really do care,
Yes,
basically.
yes,
So I'm in. I get
yes.
it. How did the opportunity with Tom's come about? I mean,
Yeah.
and what did you see initially
Oh, yeah.
in the vision, in the mission and the whole bit?
Yes, for sure. So obviously, having come off of Estee Lauder and what was a really special time there, because while I was there, we helped launch the Pink Ribbon campaign. So I really saw how doing good and well absolutely go hand in hand. And if you have a leadership heart that cares, then magic happens. And so obviously, I'd had multiple experiences, that being the last one. I decided I had jumped out of a full-time role at Estee Lauder because I'd had my son. And so I was doing consulting in that same type of environment. And then I really also decided I didn't want to keep putting off things that I wanted to do for myself, right? I had gone through this moment in my career because I'd had a lot of success at a young age. Like, I will go back to doing volunteer work when I will go back to doing mission trips when. And at that moment in my life, I was like, I can't keep planning things on after I do this, then I'm going to do for others. But honestly, when you're working and you're a young mom and you're trying to maintain a baby and a house and a job, you tend to put off, honestly, doing things outside the house. So I took that as an opportunity for me to jump back into volunteering and really had made a commitment that our church here was opening kind of a secondary part of the church for younger, more casual people. I was volunteering doing that. And the senior pastor of the church reached out to me and was like, "Hey, kiddo, we have this young guy coming." Yeah, he's friends with my dad, right? "We have this young guy coming. I know that you have experience kind of in the fashion community. Like, haven't you done like the Oscars or Academy Award dinners? Could you pull together a really nice dinner and get some good people in the room?" And I was like, "Okay, when do you need me to do that?" He was like, "Friday night." And this was Wednesday. And again, back at that time, there was no AI, there was no Googling going on. I was like, "I got this, no problem." Set up a beautiful dinner with a couple of really good folks. And in came Blake.
Hmm.
And Blake came in just his everyday normal Blake vibe. Maybe his jeans were a little tattered, maybe his hair was a little messy, it was such a look at the time. And I just remember when he walked through the door, I had so many amazing people there for this dinner that were dressed at a much more elevated party centric way. And the second that he started speaking, I was like,
Bam.
"Oh my gosh." Like, he is one incredibly special human. This was the first time that anybody had ever spoken about a one for one model. The idea of with every purchase, we will. And it was absolutely, for me, a moment I will never forget as after the dinner, Blake and I sat and talked for hours about kind of what his vision was, what he wanted to do, about the alpargata from Argentina and his idea that he got when he went out to play polo with Alejo. Um, and how he took these shoes and wanted to get them back to these children. And I literally today just remember sitting there thinking to myself, like, this is an extraordinary human being. Like, he is literally on fire to make real change happen. And so the conversation continued that night, and he's like, "This is great that you have these relationships at Nordstrom or Dillard's, whether it was like Bill Dillard or Pete Nordstrom, people that I had done business with or kind of grew up in the industry." He's like, "But I don't really know if we want to go that big. Like, let's just start little. Let's see what we can do. I really can't afford to pay you." And I was like, "Okay, I have a heart for children and women. Like, there's no other." And that's really where I knew I wanted to spend my time. And I was like, "Okay, like, it doesn't matter. I want to help you." And that day started an incredibly special friendship that truly has been one of the great blessings of my life. And Blake has the ability to surround himself as a leader that cares, as a leader that has always genuinely cared about people. And we were able to really work together with an enormous group of phenomenal humans, from interns that came to us to people that could barely be paid. And the key thread to all of it is everybody cared. Everybody genuinely cared about making a difference. And that is what ignited, the one for one movement. And for every shoe sold, we were giving a pair of shoes to a child that needed it and hand placing them on their feet and doing things that really had never been heard of before. And that is 1,000% Blake. 1,000% Blake and his vision for being a leader and doing it with a heart unlike anyone else. So
You
it
know,
was
to
a
to to your
journey.
to your point before about taking a risk or whatnot or stepping out, a lot
Yeah.
of people would say, "Wow, giving a second pair of shoes for free, what's the margin? How are we going to afford it? This and that, and that, and all the
Yes.
obstacles
Yes.
to it,
Yes.
basically." And
Yes.
yet, when you put passion behind, strategy, if you will,
Yeah.
um,
makes a difference.
Sky's the limit.
That's right. That's right. And I think one of the things Blake has been gifted um, with this magic in his storytelling. He is a great storyteller and he comes from a very genuine and honest space. So his story is incredibly relatable and he's very vulnerable and true, and people resonate with that. So people were coming forward and wanted to help us. Much like a situation, that we're in right now with what we're launching. It's just amazing how people just genuinely wanted to help us at the beginning of Tom's. And for that, I think we're all eternally grateful. But I will say the greatest gift from Tom's obviously was that every day, we were in the business of giving. And the people that surrounded us, whether it was people at the 3PL, to people that were doing sourcing, to operations, to the absolutely hands down phenomenal team of incredible human beings, is what made Tom so special because everyone genuinely cared. They wanted to make a difference. They saw business in a new way. They were motivated by Blake and his passion. And, you know, there was a magic that permeated through the organization like wildfire.
Yeah, and
And
it's so interesting and so basically complicated, if you will, which is an oxymoron, or
yes,
basically brilliant also, because it goes back to the core again that people, and especially younger people now, are looking for experiences as
mm,
well as making money. They're not
yes,
just, they won't accept just the money and they won't accept just experiences. They
that's
want
right.
both.
That's right.
And when we
Right.
first started, even Leaders Who Care, it was considered soft and all these wonderful terms and whatnot. Well, there's no
Yeah.
care. There's no caring in baseball. There's no crying
Yeah.
in baseball and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So, and shoes is just, if you, with all due respect, just another business, but
Yeah.
it becomes way more than
Of
just
course.
another business. It's what's
Of course.
happening, what you're doing, et cetera. And people want to be part of stuff like that. That's
They do.
why you were
They do.
succeeding at it.
They do. And obviously, it became a movement, right?
Yeah.
It became the shoe that spoke for you. So, in the early days of Tom's, if you saw somebody wearing Tom's, then that was a representation of the fact that that person cared.
Yeah.
Right? If you were buying Toms in the very beginning, that shoe was almost an identity that you slipped on and put your foot in every day. That was a message to the world that you genuinely cared and wanted to make a difference and were already making an impact from the minute you left your house. And that was something that, from a marketing perspective, I mean, spoke volumes.
Too
And
bad
then,
those weren't the shoes that what was his name, the astronaut that first hit the moon, Neil Armstrong.
no,
He
yeah,
would have worn, this is one great step in Tom's shoes and
yes,
one giant
yes.
leap.
Yes. We didn't have the astronaut, but we did have AT&T. And T. And again, just going back to like, you know, how do you surround yourself with the best people possible as a leader? You got to get in front of them first. You got to build relationships. You never know who you're going to meet and when you're going to meet them.
Yeah.
And when AT&T reached out to Blake and said, we'd love to be able to feature you in a commercial, again, like that was a gift. That was an absolute gift based on human connection and relationships, from one chain to the next, that really propelled Tom's to a whole new level and made it possible, for as we transition out the end to give 100 million pairs of shoes away.
It's
Yeah.
incredible. And those extra shoes cost money,
Yeah.
but way more comes from it just by
Oh,
giving
for
that return
sure.
on investment is incredible. Or,
For sure.
we use the term, not just ROI, we use the term ROR, which I think I
Yes.
mentioned at the event, and ROR is
Yes.
return on relationships.
Yes, which is
And
it's it. It's more important than anything. It is
yeah,
more important than anything for sure. And it's like how do you obviously start those relationships and ignite them? And then how do you maintain them, right? And then also how do you pay it forward? Because that is what it means to be connected. That's what it means to build a community, is to really have people in that community, but you have to keep investing in those relationships. Right?
well,
Just
that's
like a
why,
dating relationship or a marriage, right? I talk about that all the time. Like you have to keep depositing into the relationship to keep it growing.
yeah, otherwise it's not really a relationship.
Yeah,
It's a connection
it's a
on
connection.
LinkedIn or something.
Yes.
I
Yes,
like that.
that stands idle. Exactly.
But so I know you've done some awesome, great stuff even after Tom's in consulting, which
Thank
we'll
you.
have to do. In LA, we say we have to keep them wanting more so we can do a sequel. So we'll have to do a sequel. But talk a
Yes.
little bit about why we are enough started. What's the vision? What's the mission? Which I'm super excited about because I talked about we are enough for a long time now with people
Yeah.
that shouldn't be depressed because they're not, an athlete or the actor or whatnot. But talk a little
Yeah.
bit about Blake and how this all began and what you're doing now.
Sure, sure. So again, Blake and again met over 20 years ago now at this point, became great friends, and Blake is family to me. Pam and Mike are like second parents to me. And so through the journey of building Toms, there were so many successes and so many highs, and you really got to see Blake what it looked like enjoying his life full throttle, from the great trips and the houses and the success and the media, and sadly through that, two struggling marriages. And also, really, at the end of Tom's, I think he went from being around such a great community, having such great context of amazing relationships, and then went from being on top of the world to not, and went through a really deep dark state of depression. That when you care about somebody and love them, you see it and you don't always exactly know how to help or support. Again,
Yeah.
for those of us that are rooted in our faith, we prayed about it. Pam and I, Mike, family prayed about it. Great friends, Tyler Ramsey, John, people just were absolutely supporting and circling Blake any way they could. But it really wasn't until he found himself in a situation where he was blessed enough and had the resources to be able to get the help, that he identified that his core wound was that he had never felt enough. And that actually resonated from when he was younger, back in high school,
Right.
and that it was something that he had always been trying to overcompensate. So you would think that the guy that you saw on the poster that's happy, that's giving shoes and making millions of dollars and doing all sorts of good, would have been the happiest person on the face of the earth. But that's where, like, I just raised my hand to say, like, you never know what's going on with someone.
Yeah.
And if that could happen to Blake, who was so public and so out there and doing amazing things and always a big smile on his face, then it can happen to any of us. And so when Blake came back from his trip, where he was in India, and really, like I said, did the work that really made the biggest difference, he gave me a call and he said, "Look, I really have this on my heart. If there is any way that I can figure out how to share what I have learned with others, I now know this is my life purpose. I know this is what I'm supposed to do." And so he came up with the idea of starting a brand called Enough. We are enough. And the core census is that you are enough, I am enough, we are enough, and we have always been enough. And that sounds so simple, but it is a message that I know you talk about, and clearly I talk about now every day. And it's a conversation that needs to be started. So we have put together and build a brand, which we have just launched this week. WeAreEnough.co. We're super proud of it. Obviously, super excited to have launched it with Stacy and Billion Dollar Impact, which was awesome, which is where you and I combusted and met. And I was like, oh, he's my type of human. I want to support whatever he's doing.
I've
This is
never
the
been told that I combusted with somebody. That's pretty cool.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Your energy, your enthusiasm for life, your love for people, and genuinely wanting to help people and make a mark and really help to infuse what you know and you've learned in this idea of leaders that care. I mean, so many people need that message. So I applaud you for what you're doing and have already accomplished in the people's lives you've touched, because it sounds simple, but it's not. It takes thoughtfulness, it takes work, it takes strategy, but it's something that's available to everybody. They just
Yeah.
have to ask. And it's the same for what we're trying to accomplish. So basically, there's a full line of really fun products where people can join the movement in the community. We're starting with the bracelets,
Right.
which yay, thank you for having yours on. I love it. And basically, for every purchase, we're giving 100% of the profits to three of the top leading mental health organizations. We're starting with three in this first year. So the first is NAMI, which just they're amazing. And obviously, they have done such incredible work and advancement and continue to do so in mental health. Project Healthy Minds, also an absolutely incredible organization. We're so proud to be partnering with Phil and their entire team there. And then Active Minds, again, equally incredible. They have just this huge community of young people on college campuses. So proud and thankful for the work that they're doing and making resources available to that younger generation. And basically, the idea is that we have a box right now that you get two bracelets, and it's one for you and one to give. So think of it like this, like in the Tom's days, it was you buy a pair of shoes and we take a pair of shoes. And now we're actually putting the power of giving in your hands, right? So though we're using Blake's story as a starting place for a conversation, we are not mental health experts. We're literally just raising the flag and pointing people to get help and utilize resources that are there and free for them. Um, but now you have a bracelet to wear, and then the power of giving is in your hand to pass one on. So we're really proud of the conversations we've started, and that's what we're trying to do is we're trying to use the bracelet and the apparel and the fun hats and water bottles or journals or whatever fits you and your lifestyle as a way to start a conversation and to genuinely say like, first of all, it's okay to not have it all figured out. It's okay to, not be okay. It's okay to ask for help. It's
Right.
okay to raise your hand. And it's okay to say you're getting help because there's so much help. People just don't know about it, Mark. There's so much help. The majority of young people that I
100%.
talk to, and I talk to a lot of young people, and that's a privilege in doing this and helping lift this with Blake, but they don't even know that on your phone, you can dial 988 at any time. And there is someone there that is going to answer you and help point you in the direction of the resources you need. Like if we can just pass that message on. Like I said, you can go to any of the three mental health organizations that we're working with, and they will help you find help. And it is affordable. It is free in a lot of cases. So I think that it's kind of like taking down the wall one brick at a time of this conversation that people felt that they weren't supposed to have, and especially leaders, right? Because
Yeah.
leaders think, oh, I can't be vulnerable. I don't want to share that. I don't want people to think that I'm weak. That's something I've got to figure out internally on my own. It's not something that I should talk about.
Well, there's so many. You need to get a little more passionate about it, though. But I think we'll get to that. There's so many. That's what I love about you, though. There's so many.
I am passionate because people need to hear this. Like, if we can just
Right.
make a difference in one person's life, just one person's life that's listening, then, like, that is it. That's what we need to do, like, one person at a time.
So
This
there's
is
so
something
many
people,
elements in this. I'm interrupting.
yeah,
There's so many
yeah,
elements in this that are incredible. Number
yeah,
one, you're not settling by saying you're enough. And I think that's an important
no,
part too. You're not
no,
settling, well, I didn't make it for that, so this is
no,
enough. That's not the enough. The enough is
no.
you're valuable on who
That's
you are
right.
and
That's
enough.
absolutely right.
That's
That's
one
absolutely right.
aspect. I
That's
also
okay.
know that in dealing with companies and whatnot, you talked about how your dad and Lanscombe and them treated people. People need to know, the best leaders who care that I know engage with people in their companies that say, you're doing this part. This part is valuable. It's such a whole link in our company. I'll tell you why that is enough, what you're doing there. And I think that's an opportunity to work with companies as well. We are enough
Yes.
to do the whole enough mission, if you will, within the company. The other thing I want to
Yes.
add to that
Yes.
also is one of the things we found, and I think we can talk more about this, is people don't know where to go for mental health. They look up stuff they don't know. Some of them aren't even really for mental health that are listed
Yes.
in places, and they need it and they want it
Yes.
and they want it to be okay to talk to HR and say I have an issue, not that it's written up that they have an issue for
That's
mental
right.
health and things of that nature.
That's
Last thing I'll
absolutely
say
right.
is you do have to start with yourself first. I'm not a mental health expert too, but I hear it
Yeah,
over and over and over again.
that's right. That's
If
right.
you can't love yourself and feel that you're enough, you can't do
Yeah.
it with other people too. So that's another thing you're impacting. So I'm so glad we combusted.
Yes,
Um,
me too. Me too. And obviously, I agree with everything you're saying. I think it's important also to say that like being enough is not a destination. It's not like, okay, I'm enough today. Because in all reality, any of us, I mean, it happens to me. I wake up, my feet hit the floor. I'm like, thank you, God, for this day. I'm going to be the best version of me that I can be for you. I'm going to do this, 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 and help this person. But then, literally, like 2 hours later, you can get a phone call, you can get an email, you can get a text from someone in your orbit. And all of a sudden, that makes you question your enoughness. That makes you question where you're at, which
mhm.
is kind of for us why like for the idea of the idea of the bracelet is just simply like a gentle daily reminder that you know what, you're going to probably reset a couple times a day. And that's okay. Like just try to be focused on it. Just try to do a little bit better than you did before. 1% better than you did before on really feeling good, knowing that your self-worth comes from within and just constantly reminding yourself of that. Even if you're just repeating in your mind, I am enough, you are enough, we are enough. I mean, whatever works for you to get yourself centered on that. I mean, everyone has to make it work for them. And I think the point that you're making is, within companies and organizations, this is a conversation that is very much so needed because people feel that they are constantly being measured against someone else. When you talk about athletes on a daily basis, if you're on a team, you are constantly being measured by the guy or the girl next to you. You're in jeopardy of losing your position. You're in jeopardy of being the starting pitcher if
Right.
you throw a few in the ground and you walk too many. I mean, this conversation permeates every single human on earth. And I have to say that, like, for me, at the beginning of the conversation of mental health, I had a stigma in my head that mental health was something that other people dealt with. What
Sure.
I have learned, and what I really hope that your followers and your friends and your community can learn, is mental health is a part of all of us. It's as important as our physical health. We spend so much time.
It's the
I mean,
core of it's the
it
foundation of
is.
all of
It's
that.
it's more important than all of it. But just think about how much time do people spend talking about what they're eating, what they're putting in their body, what supplements. Now we're talking about like don't eat Doritos because of the red dye. I mean, the conversations about yogurt being good for you or not good for you, what type of water, you need electrolytes, you need salt, you need to make sure that you're adding something to the water. You've got amazing brands out there like Morning Water and other salt supplements. We're spending so much time talking about that. And we talk about it freely with anybody, right?
Hmm.
Are you on a meat diet? Are you eating protein? For women, we have to eat 60 grams of protein in the morning to start our day. These are conversations that everybody is happily having, at least in my friend group, in
Hmm.
my community. But yet, the thing that actually facilitates all of that is your mental health.
Yeah. It knocks down whether you're an
Yeah,
athlete or you work in a
yeah,
company, whether it knocks down anything else happening.
yes,
If you,
everything.
and if you're in survivor mode, which it really affects mental health too, there's no
Yeah,
creativity, there is
yeah.
nothing that goes on.
No,
Um,
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So, and I think what I have also learned over the last couple of months is it's literally multi-generational. You've got the junior high, the high school group, as you and I talked about, that are like struggling to fit in, not being invited to the party makes them not feel enough, not making the team, and that's their friend group, and now they're not getting to hang out with the guys on the football team makes them feel like they're not enough. The kids that are working so hard to get into their college of choice and they don't get accepted into the college that they wanted or the college their friends are going, then they feel like they're not enough. Then they get to college and they're having trouble balancing the grades, trying to figure out how to fit in, not getting in the fraternity or the sorority. They don't feel
Yeah.
enough. I mean, it goes on to young couples, right? Like wanting to get married, not finding somebody, the dating apps, all that nonsense, then getting married and wanting to have a family and managing work and home and being a wife and a husband and having a child, to honestly, everyone all the way up to, my dad's age, to Pappy, right? I mean, here he was, he ran and helped grow large organizations his whole life. with teams of people and retired and definitely played golf and enjoyed himself a little bit, which I'm glad he did because he always worked and did for others. But then it's like he's in that moment in life too, like, I don't really know if I'm enough. I don't know if I'm feeling enough, right? Am I supporting the family? Am I supporting the community? Am I volunteering enough? Like, I don't feel like I'm
Well,
enough now. So,
yeah, we all need that
yes,
purpose, and you're 100% right. You mentioned it about Blake. It
yeah,
does start. It even starts from birth to three.
yeah,
Kids, that's an incredibly major time for kids that they learn stuff and everything. And I know
yes,
that runs a whole thing on that.
yes,
And how a coach treats a player, it sticks with you all the way. There's a
does.
message there that you're always impacting people and influencing people,
Yes.
even when you don't know it. So you're right on the
Yes.
money.
Yes. Yes. So it's like, how do we, how do we start that conversation? It's like just giving people permission. Because now when you see people with the bracelet on, if you go somewhere, and it was really fun because I went somewhere, first time ever. Like I remember the first time I saw somebody wearing Toms, that was also very exciting. When I hadn't given them a pair of Toms, but I went somewhere and I walked in to a party and someone in the party had a bracelet on. And obviously I mean, I was elated, I was emotional. I couldn't wait to like get through the crowd to get over to that person to introduce myself, of course, and give them a hug because that's just what I do, and ask them where they got their bracelet from. And somebody sent it to them as a Christmas gift. And immediately the conversation had a whole different level. There was completely different context because it was like we had permission and we inserted ourselves in a way and we're more vulnerable than we probably would have if I would have met that gentleman at a party without his bracelet. And I think as we are out in life and as we continue to say to ourselves, what is our goal? What are Blake and I really in our hearts wanting to do here? Is we're wanting to get as many bracelets as physically possible on as many people as possible to give people the permission to have the same conversations that I got to experience that night at the party
No,
firsthand.
I get it. It's fantastic, and we're going to make a lot happen. So I think
Yes,
we're going to be in good shape.
yes, yes,
And I talk a lot about Jomo too. Are you familiar with Jomo?
yes, yes,
Yes, and it's still somewhat related in a different way. Like
yeah,
you are enough, and you should be. It's okay to be joyful and not anxious that you didn't go to every single conference out there
that's right. That's right.
and all
That's
that
right.
stuff. So, you
That's
know what?
okay.
We will have to have a sequel, but I have one more
Great.
question on this part. And
Yes.
in 2021, a client of mine talked to me about the pandemic year, 2020. He said, Mark, that was the year that flew by slowly.
Mm,
And that it seems like we feel that COVID was yesterday and years ago, all at the same time,
yes.
not that long ago. But now we're already in 2026, amazingly.
Yes.
With all that's happened, what are you most grateful for and what are you most hopeful for?
That's such a good question. So honestly, I'm most grateful for this present moment. I'm grateful that I get to have conversations like this. I'm grateful that I am surrounded by amazing family, that my dad is still here coaching and loving and mentoring me and cheering me on every day. I'm very grateful for my husband, who is a complete rock star and also doing the same. It's, having a village and a community of people that love and believe in me. My son, I'm incredibly grateful that he has graduated from school and he has a really great career that he has built on his own by himself and is really just thriving in life with an amazing young girl in his life, Sharmila, that we love and has a house. And like he's living his life out loud. And I have to say, as a parent, for anyone that is a parent, like that really is what moves your heart. Is when your kids are living their best life and doing it in an honorable way
Yeah.
because yeah, he loves God and puts God first. He's good to others and he works incredibly hard and wants to do the best he can to give back. We also have Halen, who's in school right now. She just turned 21, and I'm incredibly grateful for her and her spirit because she's going to do big things in this world. She wants to be a nurse and is really passionate about people and helping people. And
That's great.
she's gonna, yeah, she's gonna, her wings are just about to open and for her to fly. And to see that as a parent, I mean, just so
Isn't it
grateful. So
interesting
grateful.
that somewhat logically you would think our own accomplishments would be the top and then the kids pretty close, but it's way the other direction.
Oh, way the other direction.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm
Um,
really thankful I get to do that. What
what are
was
you
the
most
second?
hopeful for?
Most hopeful. I'm most hopeful for the conversations to be started um, around dinner tables. I'm most hopeful that we continue seeing the progress that's being made here with this launch, because I have to say it has been absolutely extraordinary and overwhelming and filled with more blessings than Blake and I could have ever anticipated. The stories we hear on a daily basis, though they are really heartbreaking and hard to hear, I'm so thankful. I'm so grateful that those conversations are happening, and I'm
Yeah.
hopeful. I'm very hopeful. And I am convinced that this is leaving a mark in a way that is much larger and far more extraordinary than Blake and I could have ever thought up, because it's already happening. People are already recognizing the
Yeah.
importance of having a conversation about being enough.
Yeah, no, since my name is Mark, I definitely love leaving a mark. So I try to do that
And let me
all
just
the
say, like,
time.
I wanna go to New York in like a year, and I want to walk down the street in Manhattan and I want to see a sea of green bracelets, right? I want to go into the Netflix building and I want to go into Apple and I want to see Blake sharing his story and then other leaders sharing their story and see people wearing bracelets and connecting in ways that we never thought possible. I
All right,
mean,
well, I got some ideas, but
that's
we
the
may have
dream.
to cap this here because then we'll have to do a mini series if we keep going here,
Okay.
which is
A mini
fine.
series. Great.
Hey,
Sign me up.
I'm
Sign me up.
grateful. I am super grateful for having a wonderful new friend.
Me
Thank you
too.
for that. And I'm grateful and hopeful for people like you and specifically you and Blake and what you're doing because it's so important right now. Mental health is maybe the biggest issue of all time right now. And so people want to feel good. And
Yes.
so thank you for that. Thank you for being
Yes.
a leader who cares
Thank
and
you.
for sharing yourself with us here.
Well, thank you for the platform of doing it. And thank you for all the lives that you have already impacted. And I am very grateful that you have come into mine, because your wisdom and your knowledge and your word and your community are exactly the people that I need to continue learning and growing from. So I'm very, very thankful for the opportunity. And to everybody listening out there, thank you guys for your time. We appreciate it. We'll have a part two for sure. And in the meantime, go check us out at weareenough.co.